Welcome to George Coll Fine Art. Here, the viewer is encouraged to get outside and paint from life. George's job is to provide the tools to solve the many technical challenges faced in rendering landscape paintings. View the library of landscape paintings offered and become a subscriber. You can also purchase tutorial videos, plus original tutorial and studio paintings. Thank you. And if you like what you see, click the subscribe button and join in on the fun.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of Medicine Bow Creek. So what we really concentrated on was really trying to balance these values. So changed my shapes that I had some shape changes on, but spent the whole time really working on these color values, and it's a foundation of color values and the importance of that before we get too much farther into the painting. So get outside and paint. Paint with your friends. Don't be intimidated by a white canvas and get critiques. All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome to part 2 of Medicine Bow Creek. So yesterday we've covered all this in, and off camera I covered up all those little peekaboo spots coming through with a variety of ways. I would rub it. I would also use my paper towel to erase something. But you can see it's still tacky, but because of my medium with a lot of Gamsol in it, and a little bit of Damar varnish, it hardens up a little bit. But I'm not going in thick. I'm going in very, very thin. So today I have to concentrate on getting the right values and shapes in the right place. Getting a fresh look at it today, I could see that I kind of have equal timber designs here. So you have like Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear, too much the same. So I am going to change that and get my right values in, start working on values. And that is the most important thing to do after blocking, is get those values right. Hold off from the temptation of getting in there and making this tree perfect. Okay, that can be later. So I've started my timer, I've got my brushes here, and I've been experimenting with a grade just to show you. This is a cobalt blue and a burnt sienna, and mix those together, makes that nice dark. Added some white, makes a nice gray. Add more white and it's even a nicer gray. So that looks like that can be useful for us today. The other thing I want to do today is make a blue and a burnt sienna and a cad yellow light. And it makes a good like a sap green type thing. More yellow. I'm trying to keep my yellow pure, so I'm cleaning it in my paper towel before I go back into that pile. Okay, so I have a nice green, and I'm going to make a white off to the side, and there's a nice light green there. All right, I think I've got more to mix, but I don't want to get too far ahead of us. And let's get started with working on these shape changes. So I'm going to get a new paper towel from underneath my palette here, and have my trusty knife here. And I'm going to get a number 4 round. I haven't used it from yesterday, and it's a little stiff, but it's clean. And now I'm going to So I went with my Gamsol, and then I cleaned it, and now I'm going into my medium. I'm going to make it a little darker. And I'm going to make this space get darker, a little smaller. There we go, that's about perfect. I'm going to just work with getting my spacing right. This seems to go down a little farther. And kind of comes over here. And once again, it sneaks up. And this is here. Running out of grease, so I re-greased it up in my medium. Okay, that has enough differences in it. Okay, let's go over to this pile here, and this looks pretty good. Let me get a little bit of blue and burnt sienna. This is ultra blue, burnt sienna with a little bit of medium. I'm gonna add just a touch of gray. And work with that. And I think this one should come over a little bit here, and then this one comes about like this. Blue. Medium. It was a little too dark. All right, let's get some designs here to see if they're looking okay. Let me bring that up just a little bit. I just moved it up by getting that paper towel underneath. A little too dark for now. And need some dark in here. What I'm keeping in mind is I want to take the trees darker, but I don't want them to get too close to the dark I'm going to put in here. So I'm just going to go in cautiously and not push it too hard right now. Now to soften those edges, I'm going to get old number 10 flat out. Just try to even this up. And you see it gives it more of a softer feeling. I'm just going to dry this off. I'm not going to clean it extensively, the big guy, right now, because I have a hunch I'm going to be using him shortly. All right, I'm going to make a darker mixture for up front trees. Blue, burnt sienna, burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow, More blue, ultra. And a little bit more yellow. That's about right for me for now. I better clean my mixing knife here. There we go. Okay, back into the medium and work on this really nice dark green. And pretty solid down in here. More damn salt. I'm sorry, medium. I'm going to calm this down just a little bit by going in this lower mixture of lighter gray and put that in right in here. Okay, so far so good. Let's go over to the other side. All right. Because my monitor is so close to the canvas, I have to work on a downward stroke, kind of like this. And I think I went a little too high with the rock, so let me do that. It's harder to do my trees the way I like to without, I have to use the tip here. And I think that's working. And let me get into here with the minor chords. I think I'm going to make a little design there. All right. Now I piled up that paint a little too thick, so I'm going to smash it down and pick up my excess. And I'm scraping it like that and picking up a lot of excess paint. And another way to pick it up is by picking up your old number 10, drying it out, and picking up your excess like I'm doing now. And here. And I'll put some of this dark stuff right in here, since I have some on my brush. Make sure these guys are saying I am in front. just dry him out without putting him into the gamsol. Just keeping him dry. Now what I see in the background is kind of a warm color in here. It's a green and a warm, so I'm going to get some burnt sienna into my green and get some lighter color into it. And now I'm going to lighten it even more. And I think I need a little bit more warm in there. And that would be the brown. Brown. One thing about the Snowy Range, it's been decimated a lot by beetle kill. It's an infestation of beetles we've had about for the last 40 years. Summit County by Dillon seems to be the place that was hurt the most. Okay, so I'm getting some of this warmer greeny color. I need it thinner, so I'm adding more medium to it. It goes back in this kind of misty morning that I experienced up there a few years back. It softens as it goes back and meets the clouds. Now when I get back, I'm sure I'm going to see this as a little too heavy with the value, and so I'm going to get a paper towel on it and thin it. Let me get back and check this first. Yeah. So, here we go. Turning the paper towel over. And that'll give me a good foundation to work on. It looks better, better, better. Okay. Now one thing I see is how soft this is up here. So I'm just going to dry brush the top to soften it. Drying it again. And again. Using the old number 4 round. Rounds are really versatile brushes. You can get a sharp point on it, and do a point, and holds a lot of paint so you can work the side of it. All right, let's go back into a darker mixture of green. So let's mix all this stuff together and see what we come up with. I'm saving this gray over here for a rainy day. We're going to have to go cobalt and yellow. Nope, ain't gonna cut it. I need some brown. A little bit of yellow. A little bit of this goes a long way. I like this mixture I just made. I'm having some darks show through, but I think it's going to help our foundation to have some green coming in here finally. The other thing I'm doing is this defined line is between the warm and the cool is going to be broken up with this new mixture I have. I'm going to put in some sort of a background mountain coming in this way to balance it, but not now. It's just an idea that occurred to me. Well, let's save this green and see if we can use it for the next mixture. We'll get down into the meadow more. I'm happy with the sky right now. It's just a good muted light gray, and it's good for now. And more has to be done, but I think for now it's going to be okay. So I'm going to, I may have gotten too much yellow here. But I'm thinking of getting into here with this yellow. And now I'm going to introduce some white as soon as I thoroughly mix this. And now a little bit of brown. This is the burnt sienna. And a little bit more yellow. A little bit of burnt sienna goes a long way. That's coming in nicely. I'm going to lighten it a little bit more with some white. And it's time to apply paint. Dipped it in the medium. Got the extra goop off the side. And I am executing my color. By surrounding my darker color with this lighter color, it's going to bring the eye into the meadow and say, this is a really important part of the painting. I'm bringing some in this area right in here too. I'm inspired by looking at the reference that tells me to do so. I'm not a slave to the reference, but it comes in handy to keep an eye on that reference, because I think it has some good compositional qualities to it. have some coming out on this side too. Ooh la la, looking nice. We're going to add a little bit more, I think a lighter green up here. Let me get back and see how that's working. And more down here with the lights. Not much, but a little. I'm going to get my number 3 and make it dark, which will be burnt sienna, ultra blue, alizarin, medium, and just want to accent this dark area as being important. This number 3 does not hold as much as the old number 4, but I'm working it. I may have overemphasized that a little too much. All right, I'm getting too detailed with this, but I just want to get this in to show this might be one of my darker darks in here. And enough for that, for now. It's enough detail. I'm cleaning my number 3. All right, let's have a sip of water and take a look from back here how we're doing. Okay, I'm going to next move up onto this hill here. This in here. So, let's see if I have anything useful in here. See, I've got a nice dark to my left. I'll save that. Dark, not much of it, but some. And I'm just really flattening out this and softening the edges of that pond down there. Yeah, I may have accented it too much, but I can lighten it up, but not now. At least I know where it is. So I see some of these little bit of olivey green stuff up in here. So what that would probably mean is ultra blue. Burnt sienna. And now we have to get some more yellow. Yellow. ultra, blue. A little bit more warm in here. Take it from that dark pile. And now let's throw some light into it. It looks like we've got about 3 values in there. Unfortunately, none of them are going to work. So I'm going to change gears here and use some of this wonderful color I have and use it in the lower section. Medium. And a lot of that down in here. That's working nicely. Too strong. Lighten that up. And I'll go a little grayer down in here. I see some grayer areas. All right, let's leave here. I'm smashing down the colors, softening the edges. And getting back to look at it. And let's get back into this area of the hills here. It's a little bit of a rusty color up in some of those areas. It's kind of a rusty green. So I threw some burnt sienna into this mixture, and I'll use that as an undercover for my next step. This area right in here, I see some rusty type colors. So I got some medium in my brush, slopping up all sides of it, and I just don't have enough burnt, so I'm going to add some alizarin to it. Burnt sienna, alizarin in the green. That's more like it. And I see some of that right in here in places, but not there. And I see it here. And I see it in multiple places here. And some in here. And very little, if any, in here. Now let's go back to green, which means more yellow. I have some mixed up off to the left here from previous, and I think I'll stick with this for now. Just a pale green. And I'm going into my medium. And darn it, I had too dirty of a brush. There's some contamination in it. And I screwed up that nice mixture I have, so I have to start over again. Back to green. White. White. And I'm making, hopefully, a pale green. And there it is. And as we go this way, it gets a little rustier. Clean this brush one more time. And there we go. And get some here, and here, here. And way up into here. Well, I still have some of this green left. I'm going to get it in the appropriate places. And after I apply this color, I'm going to show you how to soften it. Because one thing I can tell is that there are areas that are too bright and the edges are too sharp. Okay, now notice I mixed some of this into that warmer color we put right along here on the base of the hill. And I'm going to do some of this scrubbing to show there's a value change. All right, I'm going to check my time, and I better start thinking about softening edges now. I have to soften this painting because, well, it's a calm, overcast day, and we're going to soften some of these colors. So we're going to smash them. Pick them up if we need to. You can see how that takes the value down and softens the painting. Voila! I'm going to strengthen the base color we put in just by smashing it and going back and forth. See how that did that? And this needs to be softened. And you can also use your number 10 to do some softening also. Just keeping things soft. And let's go back into here with these greens we have. Gonna get a little bit more softness on the top. There, that's a nice value. Just using some of my leftover stuff to soften and also lighten it up just a scooch. I had a shop teacher named Mr. Sperlin, and one of the measurements that he always spelled it out was just a scooch, and he just a little bit. One of the things I tried art. I looked into it, 30, 40 years ago, and just didn't sound right for me at the time. So I signed up for some shop classes at the local community college and thoroughly enjoyed Mr. Sperlin. And I still make furniture, but mostly right now I just make my frames. Because compared to the furniture I made, it's pretty simple. And then I did a series of things with my furniture making. And then I said, I still want to learn about art. And that's where I got involved with the Denver Art Students League in Denver and started my studies and had some good instruction there. Strongly recommend that as a great place to learn art. All right, let's take a look. I think this has to go up a little bit more. I have a drawing error. Let me see if I can fix it with my trusty number 11 here. So this has to go up. And this has to go down. This has to come this direction and down. I think this is pretty good here, but let's take my shapes, making shape changes. Nothing better than a brush like this to help you with that sort of issue. All right, I'm going to clean this brush, the big boy. And one thing I want to do before I finish up is lighten this dark here. So I'll get my number 11 in here, 10, and lighten him up. I went a little too dark. And that lightens that up. All right, that brings us to the end. Whew. Man, thanks so much for coming by for part 2. We're going to be doing more balance in our next one, and but starting to introduce some changes with getting more definement on our trees and rocks. And if we don't have this good balance down there, which is a great foundation, all that detail we put on is going to be on a weak foundation. So let's keep our focus on what's really important as we go through this painting, and that is don't screw it up. Okay. With that, I'm going to bring it to an end. Thank you so much for coming by for part 2. Bye-bye.